welcome three of the best known names in Northern Ireland sport. First of all, can you please put your hands together for a man who played over 150 times for Ulster and for Ireland, the rugby star, Stephen Ferris. Good to see you. Have a seat, you're making me look small. And next, will you please welcome a lady who has been crowned a British, European and a world champion no less than 3 times. Also an Olympic medalist, Wendy Houvenaghel. Lovely to see you, lovely to see you. You can take the bad look off Stephen there. And last but not least, a true living legend of Northern Ireland sport for his exploits at Spurs, at Arsenal, and of course he is Northern Ireland's record caps holder, the one and only Mr. Pat Jennings. Great to see you, Pat. Stephen, to you first of all. This has been a tough, emotional week for you, being forced to announce your retirement.
Yeah, kick a man when he's down there, Winker. Thanks very much. Yeah, it's obviously been a tough week, but at the same time, it's a week where I can reflect and celebrate my career. And I think a lot of the response that I've had has been very humbling, and it's all been very positive. And I'd just like to thank everybody that supported me over the years as being a professional rugby player, and I know a lot of Ulster fans and Irish fans are in this room, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Stephen, you're retiring at just 28 years old. Wendy, hard to believe you just started your sport at 28 years old, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's correct, Stephen. You know, it was a bit of a whirlwind for me. I just sort of fell into the sport, and it was really something that I didn't expect, and I just made the most of my opportunity.
You certainly did that. Pat, speaking of retirement, you certainly didn't retire at 28. In fact, you still look the same today as you did when you retired. But your retirement was a much more happy occasion. Remind us of that day.
I couldn't afford to retire even at 41. No, unbelievable occasion. I've been trying to qualify for a World Cup from joining the international team in 1964. The press would just remind me there about 4 or 5 weeks ago that George Best and myself were picked for the international team the same night. I can't believe 50 years ago. But that was the start of the international career, and then I've been trying to qualify every qualifying round for the World Cup since. And whenever it came to, I was 36 whenever we qualified for Spain '82. I thought it all passed me by at that stage, but to qualify, just unbelievable. And then I went out White Hart Lane. We qualified, whatever it was, November. I went out at White Hart Lane January the 2nd, that was it, get it right. I went out to pick a ball up, done the splits, and ripped my groin and me adductor. And now, absolute panic. After all those years of trying to qualify, I think I played about 3 or 4 games leading up to May, June World Cup time. I got a half a game in against Wales, and Billy Bingham said, right, half a game, we've got another month. So I was actually absolutely delighted to make the World Cup in Spain. Played the first game against Yugoslavia. The next game was Honduras. Unfortunately, the press guys, you guys had written Honduras off as all surrounds, no opposition. They gave us the toughest game. And then that brought us through to the Spanish match. Unbelievable. I think some of the boys had packed their bags ready to go home on the next flight, and somehow we managed. We needed to win the match, or at least draw the match 2 each to qualify, and somehow we won the match 1-0 that night. Unbelievable. one of the greatest nights. Of all the nights I've played, I've had some unbelievable nights throughout my career with Northern Ireland, beating Germany away, but to beat the host nation that night, I've never been as proud to be part of a team.
And on BBC this Sunday night at 10:30, you can relive that whole match again, Pat, by pressing the red button. So there you go.
Look forward to that.
And Pat, obviously we're speaking about Stephen's retirement, but you retired, as I mentioned. It was a great occasion for you, and one you will never forget, I'm sure, against the mighty Brazil.
Yeah, how far back do you want me to go? I'd actually retired from football. I'd left Arsenal in '85, and then I was home here in Ireland on holidays as usual, 6-7 weeks into the season. And I got a call from the manager at Tottenham, Peter Shreves. They had a goalkeeping problem. Would I come back and help out, fill in? So I said, Peter, I haven't even got a club next year. I'm finished, retired. So he said to me, well, I've been in touch with Billy Bingham. And Billy Bingham said, if you're playing in any team, he'll pick me for the international team. So I said, well, let me think about it. I was on holiday 7 weeks into the season. And I said, I'm back in London on Friday. I'll ring you when I come back. He said, we've got a match against Chelsea reserves on Tuesday. I need you to play. I'm booking you on a flight in the morning. So he actually booked me on the flight, and I played against Chelsea in the afternoon, the Tuesday afternoon, and 16,000 people turned up for the match, me back at White Hart Lane, and I kept a clean sheet. And then I was doing promotions around Ireland here. I wasn't getting paid at Tottenham last year because it was a month, 2 months, finished up a year there, and I was just filling in, playing an odd reserve match, keeping in touch with the internationals here to qualify for Mexico. So we had games against, 2 games against Turkey, clean sheets. Then we played the great French team, Platini and Co. in France, clean sheet. We played a friendly against Spain, in Spain, clean sheet. We had to go to Romania, who hadn't been beaten in Romania in a World Cup match, I think, in 21 years. We went to Romania, beat them 1-0. Now we need a point the last match against England at Wembley. Can you imagine? Somehow we went there at 6 clean sheets. Not entirely down to me, but the team.
You'll take it. You'll take it. Yeah, you'll take it.
And managed that night at Wembley to qualify for Mexico, and then to go through Mexico, and to finish up playing against Brazil on my 41st birthday. I mean, I couldn't have dreamed it up. Unbelievable.
Does Pat look like he made his debut for Northern Ireland 50 years ago? That's
right, frightening.
Pat, it's incredible. Stephen, I know you obviously haven't had long to think about it, but how do you reflect on what was a fantastic rugby career?
Yeah, I've enjoyed every minute of the journey. I think I've said in the press that I've been at Ulster when it was the absolute pits and we were sacking coaches and everything was up in the air and we didn't know where to turn or who was going to leave or who was coming in. You know, after we won the Celtic League in 05-06, the next 3 years was dark days. It was dark days, but to see the rise of the club, the province, the support it's getting, the new stadium, to be part of that journey where it's come from 06-07 to where it is now, to be one of the best teams in Europe and a force to be reckoned with. It's brilliant to be a part of that. And I just look back on all my years and just say, you know, it's been a real privilege to be a part of Ulster's journey from the club it was to the club it is now. And you know, going forward, I'll be in the stands with a pint in each hand, supporting the club even further.
Or you can come and join us in the studio.
You don't pay enough.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Wendy, no signs of retirement, obviously, for you. Another big summer coming up at the Commonwealth Games. How much are you looking forward to that?
That's right, Stephen. The Commonwealth Games competition's coming up in less than 8 weeks now, and you know, I've been preparing as normal, and I'm just looking forward to the opportunity. So yes, fingers crossed, and we'll see how we get on.
Unlike these two, even though you do compete in a team sport, a team pursuit quite often, will this be an individual event for you this time?
The event I'm targeting this time is going to be based on the road as opposed to the track, and that was just really to give me an opportunity to train more at home and not have to travel to say Manchester or Newport in which to do track training. So the event I'll be targeting this time around will be the road time trial.
And what about the chances of a medal?
Well, obviously you've got to go out there and do your best performance, and if that's going to be better than everyone else's performance, then we get a medal, and if not, then we don't. So
I kind of knew that. I did kind of know that. Yeah.
So we just got to go out there and give it everything you've got, and if the preparation has been optimal, then there's a good chance of a medal.
Stephen, you're into your cycling, aren't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so much road cycling. I've done a lot of mountain biking this last 6 months. Obviously, it's a non-impacting sport, and me and Johnny Davis, who's the strength and conditioning coach for Ulster, who is absolutely fantastic on a mountain bike. So we'll go up to Castlewell and Ross Trevor, do a few climbs, and it's been great fitness for me over the last kind of 6 months. And we're actually heading over to the Isle of Man in September. There's a challenge over there. It's actually a big race going on. So now that I'm officially retired.
Not the TT. Not the
no,
TT.
No, not the TT. I'll leave that to those guys. But yeah, no, I love it. I think road cycling, a little bit too heavy for that at the minute. I need to lose a few kgs, but I'll leave it to the experts for the meantime.
I mean, you went through an awful lot of training to fight your way back, 15, 16 months to get yourself back on the pitch for a handful of games. Was that all worth it now? Because you really did put yourself through the mill for that comeback.
Yeah, it was worth every second. I kind of look at it as a challenge, and to be honest, it was really tough, dark days, but you know what, I absolutely enjoyed it. I loved the challenge. Getting up every morning, first in the gym, I was doing my weight sessions. I was running over in Jordanstown on the Ultra G at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, coming back to do my weight sessions, because I always had to do leg weights post running. I had to do that at Houvenaghel, and I wasn't leaving there till 7, 8 o'clock at night sometimes, and I was in doing upper body weights at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, it was a crazy period. It was a crazy period, but I can look back on it now and go, look, I give it 100%. I give it my best shot. I was fighting fit when I took the field against Scarlets, even though my ankle was still giving me a lot of pain. And I was told just to dig in, and that's what I'd done for 3 or 4 games. But unfortunately, it just wasn't good enough to take what professional rugby is now. And it's a tough sport. There's a lot more injuries in it, and unfortunately, my career's ended probably a couple of years too early, but at the same time I've had a magnificent career, and I can look back on it with fond memories.
Pat, compare that type of training we've just heard to a footballer's type of training.
Obviously different to our day. But I'm still involved at Tottenham. I do a couple of days a week with the academy boys, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and work on hospitality as well on match days. And I'm delighted to say I work with McDonald's and the Irish FA here in the grassroots programme. So don't do a lot physically, but go out on mornings and whack balls at the keepers for an hour and a half.
You're still looking pretty trim.
That's about plus an odd game of golf.
Well, I know you enjoy your golf, and I know you keep a close eye on how the Ulster rugby team are getting on as well, don't you?
Yeah, fantastic. It's just the cycling one as well. The great late Derek Dugan and myself, we got involved with Cooperation Ireland and done the Morris cycle from Dublin to Belfast, Dublin. And I mean, that was hard work. Then I got a call from Dugan the other day. We're doing a little walk. So he said to me, I said, what's the walk? And I'd just done, whenever both of them walked across Ireland, I'd done from Banbridge to Newry, 10 or 12 mile. I thought that was what he had in mind. He says, no, we're doing Dublin, Belfast. I said, you are joking. But we finished up, we left Dublin on the Monday morning, finished up in Belfast on the Saturday, and raised quite a lot of money for Cooperation Ireland. So we've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I know you've done a massive amount of work for Cooperation Ireland and for charity. The theme of today as well, of course, was big events. We've talked about the Commonwealth Games, but of course the Giro d'Italia coming here recently, Wendy. Just for you, how big a deal and how successful was that?
Oh, it was really fantastic. The event had been organised so very well. My husband and I came across to be part of it all and just to take in the atmosphere, get involved and just watch the whole event unfold. We were there for the first couple of stages and watched the rest on the television. But certainly the footage that was shown of the Giro d'Italia just showed how picturesque some of the countryside that the race went through is here at home.
Yeah, I thought some of the images, especially of the horses running along the beach alongside the peloton, was fantastic.
It was really, just really surreal, I think, to be there at the opening stage, the team time trial. It felt like I was in a different world, really, because it was all just happening around us. And in the past, I've just only ever watched that sort of thing on the television. I know that I've obviously done a lot of competitions myself, but they've mostly been track-based. So to see the events live, really, it was just surreal. And for Northern Ireland to have hosted it so well was just such a great event, and a great privilege to be there and to be part of it all.
How has that event and what Northern Ireland did to stage that event, and the Republic of Ireland as well, obviously the last day was in Dublin, how has that been received in the cycling world?
Oh, it's been received extremely positively. I think the template that we have used to host that event could stand us in good stead for the future. Perhaps target the Tour of France one day. Perhaps another legacy perhaps would be the introduction of a velodrome here. Rather than for people having to travel across to the mainland to be able to use that facility, perhaps we should aim to have one here that we can use with relative ease.
Just how big a task would that be, and how difficult would that be to kind of raise the kind of funding needed for a velodrome? Do you think you're in the business community here today?
Yeah, I think the amounts of money that we'd be talking about are certainly achievable. It's just obviously trying to tie that in with other demands from other sports, and obviously location would be a prime consideration. But I know that there is a template in place for one, so really it's just with the appropriate funding, perhaps it would be a positive opportunity for the not too distant future.
Pat, it's a massive month, of course, for football coming up with the World Cup. You're one of the lucky people who has been to play in not just one but two tournaments to represent Northern Ireland. I mean, is that what you see as the pinnacle of your career, going to play in a World Cup final?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, as I said earlier, the qualifying for the '82 World Cup, unfortunately, the team before was 58 from that team qualified from us to '82, and without a doubt it was a pinnacle of my career. I mean, to go on. We didn't realise out there, I mean, you go to an hotel, you come out of the hotel, you go train, and you're back into the hotel. And it was only whenever we came home that summer that we realised the impact that it had back home here. You go into a restaurant at night and people were clapping you in, and what's all this about, And that was the sort of impact it had at home. But as I say, whenever you're out there, you didn't realise that,
What age were you in '82? Do you remember Big Pat?
Yeah, it was -3.
Yeah, very good. You're not that young.
I remember.
You
Pat.
remember? That's okay,
Pat.
Wendy. You keep quiet a minute.
I was it.
You remember Pat playing in the
I
World
do.
Cup? That's good. I remember.
He's a legend.
He's a legend. He is. I remember you
I can't believe I'm
fondly,
sitting
Pat.
beside him here.
Pat, who do you fancy for this year's World Cup? Who should this unruly lot be putting a few pounds, shilling and pence
I
on?
think we all admire the way Brazil play football, and I mean, it must be home advantage whenever they're playing, obviously in Brazil. I was lucky enough to see all England's games at Wembley in 1966 whenever they won it. Absolutely brilliant. So that has to be an advantage. Also, having said that, it puts pressure on as well, massive pressure on the team. But I suppose there's Argentina, Uruguay, Spain used to playing in the heat. I mean, does anybody, whenever you look at when we come through in '82 from total outsiders to reach the last 12, I mean, incredible. This year, England, there's no real expectancy on them, so I'm hoping that they can do it and do really well in the competition, be good for everybody. So, I mean, it's hard to see past Brazil, as they've been favourites, their country as well.
World Cup, we heard of the bid to bring the Rugby World Cup to Ireland, Stephen. I mean, that would be a dream come true, wouldn't it, for everyone involved in your sport?
Yeah, definitely. I think it would be fantastic. It'd be fantastic for Northern Ireland, for it to come here. But obviously, with the World Cup being in England next year, it's going to be tough to get it here. But I think we have all the resources, all the facilities to host a Rugby World Cup here. And I tell you, it's a better country than New Zealand, that's for sure.
Now you need to be careful here, but what do you make of the new Kingspan Stadium?
Yeah, well, Ravenhill's a great place, you know. Oh yeah, look, listen, it's. I think there's been reports in the media of it being a multi-million-pound deal for Kingspan to put their name in front of the stadium. You know, it's a massive deal. I think we were chatting earlier at our table about the amount of money that's television rights into the French game, and the amount of money that the English clubs are now spending. That, you know, the Magners League is playing a bit of catch up now. So it's great to have a little bit of extra money there put aside to bring world quality players to Ulster. For me, it's always going to be Ravenhill, and I think that's going to be for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it's a name, Kingspan, at the front door, and I think it's a very positive thing going forward for Ulster Rugby.
Can you put it into perspective? You've obviously travelled the world with rugby. You've played at the highest level. You've been with the Lions. Can you put it into perspective for everyone here just how good the facilities are at Kingspan Stadium now, at Ravenhill?
Yeah. Look, it's unreal. If anybody ever gets a chance to go on a tour through your business or whatever, grab the opportunity. It's absolutely fantastic. The new changing rooms and everything have just been installed there for the Leinster game, the last home game, and it's world class. It's better than any other club in Europe, without a doubt. And that's what Shane Logan, our CEO, wants the club to be, is world's best. And if you've ever heard him speak, he always talks about being world's best, and I'd say we're getting very close to that. Obviously, we have a lot of players leaving this season, but I think with David Humphreys and the right people in the right places, that we can keep Ulster Rugby at the top of European rugby. And we have definitely all the facilities, maybe a 3G pitch in a couple of years. I could definitely see that happening. And you know, the place is incredible. And lastly, we have the fans and we have the support to make the place even better.
And of course, one of the biggest names in world rugby who said bye-bye this year was the great Brian O'Driscoll, a player you know very, very well, a friend of yours as well. I mean, sum up his contribution to Irish and world rugby.
Yeah, he's a completely different level. I think a lot of people recognise him as being the best player for Ireland ever. And you know, I would go along with those words. He's an extremely talented guy. He's a very down-to-earth guy, and he's one of the lads. I've a lot of time for him. The amount of crack that we've had, especially over New Zealand in 2011, a few late bars, having a bit of crack. But he's done so much for Irish rugby, and I think he's going to become more of an ambassador for rugby over the years, and he's going to hopefully give a lot back to the sport, which he done so well in.
I don't think we can afford him either for our studio. Definitely not. Pat, obviously Stephen mentioned Brian O'Driscoll. You've played with some of the greatest players of all time, but you mentioned earlier you made your debut amazingly 50 years ago with the one and only George Best, someone who you became tremendous friends with down through the years. And is he still the best in your eyes of all time?
Without a doubt, unbelievable player. I mean, it's my one regret for him that he didn't make the team in '82. I think Billy Bingham was looking at him to bring him in. And whenever you look back, the player that he was, world class, that never played with us in the World Cup. But what a player. I mean, one of the special games was the night we played Holland in Rotterdam. And that time he had gone back to Fulham. And the press guys again were questioning whether he was good enough to come back and play at an international level. And they took one of the key players in the Dutch team to do a man-for-man marking job on him, and he must have nutmegged this player 6 times and finished up taking his tie up off and saying to here, tie your legs together, you know. But we drew with that team 2 each that night, and Bessie absolutely ran riot, and that was '77. And the next year the team went through to play in the World Cup finals. And I think the last moving goal average to Argentina, but that was how good the team were the night. And George absolutely ran the game. I mean, I'm fed up looking at clips of me every time he sees him beyond him me knocking down a ball and going to close him down, and somehow he hooks it back over the top of me and two players back on the line as well. But he was just special, brilliant talent, and really down to earth, lovely person, you know.
I know this is a flying visit back home for you, Pat, because you're heading off tomorrow for what must be your first love now, golf.
Yeah, we play a lot of charity golf. In fact, the week before last, I had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday golf. And this week I've been down Harry Redknapp, had a day down at Remini Oak in Bournemouth on Wednesday. So I was down playing in that. Tomorrow I'm off to La Manga for 5 days with the Footballers Classic.
It's a hard life.
So yeah, times are bad.
I'm retired now, Pat. So
you could get a game, son. Yep.
Yeah, he runs on the golf circuit. But I know you both were very proud of the Irish Open when it came to Portrush, and you're both thrilled about it coming back to Northern Ireland a couple of times in the next 3 years.
Yeah, golf's kind of my second passion. Play a lot of golf, even though I'm not that good at it, but I still enjoy it. But, BBC funding. I was
my former head of UTV is down there, so blame him.
I was lucky enough to be up at Portrush, even though the weather wasn't so good to us. Portrush is pretty close to my heart. That's where my girlfriend is from up there, and all her family, who you know well. And it was a great event. Again, fantastic for Northern Ireland, getting people into the country, and looking forward. Hopefully, there's an Open here in the not too distant future.
Absolutely. Let's hope that happens very soon. And just to sum up with all three of you, how proud are you all to achieve what you have done and represent Northern Ireland? Wendy, I know you're just coming on a flying visit home today as well, but you always like catching up with your folks, and they go and support you wherever you race.
That's right. I mean, it's a huge honour and privilege to represent your country anywhere, but that's even more special when you are successful, and that all the effort and hard work that you do put in is, you reap your rewards. And none of that's possible without the support of your family, friends, the fans, your teammates, and everyone that's involved with helping you achieve those goals, those aims. And it's always an honour, and it's great to be back home again here in Northern Ireland.
Well, I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone, Wendy, when I say after your pretty shabby treatment at the London Olympics, we would all love to see you win a gold medal this year at the Commonwealth Games. Do you agree?
Thank
yes,
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thanks. I shall try. Thanks, Stephen.
And Pat, to you, I know you continue to this day to be an ambassador for this island of ours wherever you travel in the world.
I can't believe that I played 119 times, just whenever I look back how I got to where I did in the early days. I mean, England had beaten Northern Ireland 8-3 at Wembley, and the great Harry Gregg was the goalkeeper. And all of a sudden now I'm picked to replace the great Harry Gregg, who would have forgotten more than what I knew about goalkeeping in those days. But just looking back, I've had an incredible career. I mean, as I said earlier, making the 82 World Cup, and I've never been as proud. I've played in better teams, but I've never been as proud to be part of a team as I was that night in Spain. And again, to qualify for the 86 World Cup, unbelievable. Absolutely.
Don't forget that red button on Sunday night. And tune in for that match. Give Pat Jennings a big round of applause as well. Thank you. And Stephen, finally to you, what's next for you apart from probably a much-deserved holiday?
I think I'm just going to take a bit of a break. It's been a crazy few days, but it's been a crazy 18 months. Just need to get my head sharp, I think, get away for a bit of a break, recharge the batteries, and then come back to the next challenge. And it's something that a lot of people have said, are you looking forward to it? Are you apprehensive? Are you slightly scared? And at the minute, obviously the whole retirement thing I don't think's sunk in, and I don't think it will, and that's why I think I need time for that to happen. But I'm itching to get out there, and I'm itching for the next challenge, and I know it's going to be tough, but I'm really looking forward to it. But what rugby's given me, a lot of people won't do what I've done in a lifetime. I won't be in as many bars as I've been in a lifetime either. But no, I've enjoyed every second of it, and I just look forward to the next chapter.
Well, I think, again, I speak on behalf of us all. You've been a tremendous ambassador for Ulster and Irish rugby, and no doubt will continue to in the future as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Ferris.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It always intrigues me when you have three sportsmen and women from completely different sports who always seem to have a connection and something in common, and that is, I think, the pride that they take in representing their country and everything that they've achieved. So Pat, Wendy, Stephen, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us today. Thank you.